I trusted him. I trusted her. My own cousin and my boyfriend, together, betraying me on Valentine's Day. I didn't see it coming. One moment, everything felt normal. The next, I was trapped in something I didn't understand, stuck in a nightmare that felt like a game. They didn't just cheat, they tried to erase me, to throw me away like I never mattered. But I'm still here. And I'm not done yet. They think they won. They don't know what's waiting for me inside this darkness. How far would you go when the people you loved turn on you? I'm about to find out. On Valentine's Day, my cousin slept with my boyfriend for money. He was so into her that he decided to get rid of me by tossing me into a horror game. Too bad for her. He wasn't actually rich. And too bad for me, because the second I stepped into the dungeon, I got snatched by the game's final boss. He smirked and said, "So, after all that running, you finally came back? Let's see who you ditched me for." Meanwhile, my cousin and my so-called boyfriend just stood there, completely stunned as I got held in the boss's arms. Watching the two of them kiss, completely frozen, my whole body shook with anger. I had been nothing but good to Sean, so why the hell did he cheat on me? And with her, Miranda Boone, my own cousin. When did this even start? I only introduced them once. My mind was spinning with 100 different thoughts, but none of them gave me answers. All I ever wanted was a normal relationship. Why did that feel impossible? I turned away, numb. I was exhausted. I didn't have the energy to fight or call them out. I just wanted to walk away and end things. But the second I moved, I felt their eyes on me, and when I glanced back, they weren't just watching, they looked dangerous. Before I could react, someone grabbed me, a hand clamping over my mouth and nose. My vision blurred, my body went weak, and the last thing I saw before everything faded to black was Sean and Miranda, standing over me with eerie, twisted smiles. A bad feeling settled deep in my gut, but before I could process it, I was gone. The next thing I knew, I was waking up to a mess of sounds, whispers, bones crunching, distant screams. I snapped my eyes open, dazed. Around me, people were stirring, all looking just as confused and terrified as I felt. Then someone gasped, "What the hell is this place? I just took a nap, and now I'm here?" We were standing in the middle of a street, a place that should have been busy and full of life. However, it wasn't. There were walls covered in bloody handprints. Piles of bones were stacked in the corners, skulls grinning at us. I had no idea if they were real. The moment we took a step forward, a swarm of bats shot out of the building. It was still broad daylight, but this place felt anything but normal. Dark, eerie, suffocating. The kind of place that sent shivers down your spine. Then I saw it, a place I never wanted to see again. My stomach dropped. This was Severin's territory. Severin Kovacs, the final boss of this horror world. Every monster in the game obeyed him without question. I had been here before. Years ago, I got trapped in this world by accident. I did everything I could to escape, fighting through level after level, only to get caught by Severin at the very last stage. He told me he liked me, that I belonged to him. I had no choice but to play along. At first, it was just survival. But somehow, little by little, I actually started falling for him. To everyone else, he was the most terrifying boss in the game. But with me, he was different. Soft in ways no one would believe. For a while, I even thought about staying until I heard the truth. To him, I was just a game. A toy to pass the time. Heartbroken, I broke things off and ran, leaving this world behind, vowing never to return. And yet, here I was, tossed back into this nightmare because my boyfriend betrayed me for my cousin. Hardly anyone knew about this world, which meant one thing. He had been here before, too. I scanned my surroundings, my stomach twisting. This was Severin's world. If he found me, I would be screwed. Not only did I had run away, I had wrecked his castle before I left. The scenery around me suddenly shifted. The towering buildings of the central street vanished, replaced by a quiet village with thatched houses. The mission had officially started. I shrank into the crowd, heart pounding. An NPC calling himself the village chief started his usual spiel, explaining the mission and sorting out accommodations. There were 8 of us in total, and 3 were veterans. They immediately took charge, acting like they owned the place. I barely paid attention. I was too busy glancing over my shoulder, half expecting Severin to appear out of nowhere. Scarlett Lawson, one of the veterans, took one look at me and sneered. She had already decided I was dead weight, whispering to the 2 guys beside her that I would be the first to go. For experienced players, this B-level dungeon was a joke. But for newcomers, it was practically a death sentence. Scarlett's attitude wasn't just because she thought I was inexperienced, she was jealous. The second she saw me, I could tell she hated that I was the prettiest one here. That night, everyone huddled in bed, too scared to sleep. But I couldn't afford to close my eyes. I needed to leave. No one could fight Severin and win. The central street had been the safest place. I had to get back there. Since sleep wasn't an option, I got up to search for clues. I had played through every dungeon before New Year's. I knew how this one worked. The small boss in this world was a grotesque, almost human creature sealed inside the altar. If I granted his wish, I could clear the level and get out of here, or so I thought. Because when I reached the altar, I wasn't alone. The 3 veterans were already there. Their shock was almost funny. Especially Scarlett, her face twisted like she just swallowed something rotten. To them, I was just some clueless newbie. No way I should have found this place on my own. However, they were in the middle of a problem, and lucky for them, I had just walked straight into it. More than 20 jars sat in front of them. 3 held the key to beating the boss. The rest were either cursed corpses controlled by the boss or the boss himself. No one wanted to risk opening the wrong one, so they made me do it. Scarlett and her guys didn't even try to be subtle. They pulled out knives, making it very clear. Open the jars or else. I didn't flinch. I had spent enough time in this horror world to know people like them. They weren't the first to pull this kind of stunt, and they wouldn't be the last. Honestly, I wasn't too worried about the boss here. We went way back. When I was with Severin, he introduced me to nearly every major boss in this world. There was no way they didn't recognize me. That was supposed to be my ticket out of here. Just a quick appearance, call in a favor, and pass the level without trouble. But now these 3 had completely messed up my plan. I had no choice but to go along with it. Only 3 jars were safe. I let them choose, then cracked each one open. Nothing happened. No monsters. No attacks. Just 3 perfect clues. The trio stared at me, stunned. I faked a clueless expression, but inside, my mind was racing. This wasn't luck. Someone was helping me. I just had no idea who, and I really hoped it wasn't Severin. Once we had all the clues, the trio didn't push me to keep going. But Scarlett's expression twisted with frustration. She hadn't expected me to be this lucky. She wasn't about to let it slide. I glanced away, casually edging toward the innermost jar. While they were still distracted, I gave it a light tap and whispered, "Camden, it's me. Let me out of here." The jar shifted slightly before a weak voice muttered, "Reina, no can do. Boss gave strict orders, no exceptions, not even you. Guess our friendship doesn't count for much now. But since I am your old pal, I'll give you a heads up. He's been looking for you in every level. Just sent word you're here." My stomach twisted. Severin was still hunting me in every world. I should have known. After all, I had blown up his castle and dumped him, leaving his world in ruins. If he ever got his hands on me, it wouldn't end well. I gritted my teeth. "Sorry, Camden. You're not dragging me down with you. I'll make it up to you later," I murmured, then took a deep breath and knocked the jar over. A sickening crack split the air. Scarlett and the others spun around just in time to see the horror unfolding before them. Camden's real form stood there, hulking, blood-stained, and monstrous. His gaze flicked to me, first in shock, then in understanding. And then, his expression darkened. Anyone who saw him like this had to die. 3 unlucky souls stood right in front of him. With a guttural snarl, Camden lunged. Scarlett and her crew barely had time to react. Panic took over as they fumbled for their life-saving items, but I was already moving. While they fought for survival, I reached into Camden's jar and snatched the final clue. The world around me blurred, shifting in an instant. I had cleared the level. The last clue was always inside the boss's jar. The problem was no one ever dared to open it. I didn't want to do it, but I had no choice. I had to get out of this horror world as soon as possible. Right before my vision blurred, I was hoping, praying, that I would wake up in the real world. But when I opened my eyes again, I was still trapped in a nightmare. The scene had changed. Now I was standing in an apartment. Before I could make sense of anything, a familiar voice called out, "Reina, you're alive." I turned with no expression, and there they were, Sean and Miranda, standing hand in hand. A smirk tugged at my lips, and Sean immediately panicked. He took a step forward like he wanted to explain, but Miranda tightened her grip on his hand, stopping him. She shot me a smug look. "Reina surviving might just be an accident," she said sweetly. Then, turning to Sean, she added, "Or have you already forgotten what you promised me? You said if I helped you clear this level, you'd marry me." Sean stiffened, and just like that, he looked away. I got the message loud and clear. Compared to me, a clueless newbie, Miranda was the better choice. She was experienced, she knew how to win, and Sean needed her. After all, if he could just clear this world, his wish would come true, he would finally be rich. And money was what really mattered to him. I used to think he cared about me, that I meant something, but in the end, he wanted wealth more than anything. That was why he threw me into this horror game, expecting me to die. Yet I didn't. And now, in this S-level dungeon, he was sure I wouldn't make it out alive. I met his eyes one last time. I had been betrayed once. It wasn't going to happen again. I was done with him. They could flaunt their relationship all they wanted. It didn't matter to me anymore. I should have been back in the real world after the last level ended, but I wasn't. Something was wrong. A bad feeling had been creeping up on me for a while now, and as my eyelids twitched, that sinking sensation in my gut only got worse. Then, a voice echoed all around us. Due to the return of the landlord, the difficulty of this instance has been raised to SSS level. The whole place went dead silent, then panic. SSS level. Even veterans struggled with that difficulty. Hardly anyone had ever survived it. No one expected this twist. But I did. Because in this horror world, there was only one person who could raise the difficulty to SSS level. Severin. My stomach dropped. I wasn't escaping this. It didn't matter how far I ran or how hard I fought, he would find me. After everything I had been through, after all my efforts, it was still going to end the same way. The NPC started explaining the rules, but I wasn't paying attention. I drifted to the back of the group, keeping to myself. Sean and Miranda stood close together, looking smug and comfortable, like they weren't trapped in a death game. But when Sean's gaze flickered toward me, there was something else there, hesitation. He whispered something to Miranda and she strutted over, her expression unreadable. "Reina," she said sweetly, "Sean thinks that if you just apologize, maybe we can protect you." I let out a short laugh. Then, without a word, I flipped them off. Sean's face darkened. "You bitch," he hissed. "Do you have any idea where you are? You got lucky last time, but luck won't save you here. This is an SSS level world. Without protection, you're dead. I'll give you one last chance. Apologize and I'll forgive you." I met his eyes and grinned. I stared at Sean, expressionless, wondering how I ever liked him. Maybe I was just desperate to escape Severin and latched onto the first guy I found. But now, just looking at Sean made my stomach turn. Night fell and the apartment shifted into something straight out of a nightmare. The air filled with the sounds of electric saws, dragging footsteps, and distant screams. I couldn't sleep. Every little noise had me on edge. Then suddenly, a pair of large hands wrapped around my waist. A familiar voice murmured against my ear. "Miss me, dear?" My whole body stiffened. I knew it, he came. Severin's grip tightened as he pressed a cold kiss behind my ear. His voice was slow, almost lazy. "I heard you've got a boyfriend now," he mused. "I figured I'd see what kind of man you traded me for." A loud bang shattered the moment. The door was kicked open. Sean and Miranda stood frozen in the doorway, still clutching their discarded taboo items. Then, like cowards, they spun around to run, only to stop dead in their tracks. They had just processed the man beside me. Hanging in the center of the apartment's hall was the landlord's portrait, his face large and unmistakable. And now that same face was staring back at them in the flesh. Realization hit. I found the email. It was from the bank. In my name. A big wire transfer. All the money we had saved was gone. Sent to some unknown account.
Just like that.
I felt my whole body freeze. I sat there, staring at the screen. My heart hammered so loud, I thought everyone in the office could hear it. Then the anger hit me. It wasn't just the money. It was the betrayal. I knew exactly who had done this. Him. The man I trusted more than anyone. My husband. My partner in life and business. I stood up and walked straight to his office.
His door was closed.
I knocked hard.
"Come in," he said.
He looked calm.
Too calm.
Like nothing was wrong. I saw the emails, I said. You stole from me.
His face changed.
For a split second, I saw fear in his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about, he lied. I have proof, I said, holding up my phone. You sent our money away. You thought I wouldn't find out. He swallowed hard. His usual confident smile was gone. I needed the cash, he said. Business is tough. It's just temporary. I laughed. Temporary? You broke us. You broke me. He stood up. Look, I can fix this. I just need a little time. I shook my head. No, you won't fix anything. I'm fixing this. I turned on my heel and left his office. Outside, I called our bank manager. I threatened to pull every account we had if they didn't freeze the transfers. I told him to check every transaction for the last 6 months. I wasn't playing around anymore. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a message from the bank. Transfer stopped. Accounts frozen. I smiled, cold and sharp. Victory was mine. I called my husband back into my office. I've frozen everything, I said. You're done. No access to a single cent. He looked like a scared child. His voice shook. Please, you don't understand. I'm sorry, says the man who stole every penny. I said. Sorry isn't enough. He dropped his head. He knew he lost. I'm taking over from now on, I added. And if you try anything else, I'll make sure you never work in this town again. He swallowed hard, like the reality hit him for the first time. I felt a cold power inside me. This was my turning point. I wasn't the same woman who trusted him blindly. I was the one in control now. I went to my team right away. I told them everything. They were shocked, but they stood with me. Together, we started cleaning up the mess he made. I made new plans. I called our biggest clients and promised them honesty, transparency. They needed someone they could trust. That someone was me. His panic was real. I heard him pacing in our old office, trying to call people, trying to stop the rumors. But it was too late. I was winning, and he was falling apart. Later that night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat at my desk and planned my next move. I was done being the victim. From now on, I was the one who fought back. Hard, cold, unstoppable. And I was going to win. The moment I walked out of his office that day, I knew the game had changed. The man who thought he could break me was already starting to fall apart, though he didn't know it yet. His company, the one he bragged about like it was his kingdom, began to crumble. It wasn't some quick disaster. No, it was slow and delicious. I had already planted the seeds. A few whispered emails here, a few secret tips there. The truth about his cheating and dirty tricks started leaking out. His partners started to pull back. Investors started calling it risky. Every day, I watched from a distance as his empire started shaking. His trusted team, those who once said they'd follow him to the end, started to doubt him. They questioned his leadership. His decisions were questioned in meetings. Rumors swirled around like wildfire. I heard about the angry phone calls, the shouted arguments, the desperate attempts to fix things. But the more he fought, the worse it got. Then came the public part. It was unexpected and perfect. Some news outlet picked up the story about his personal betrayals. The headline wasn't just about failed deals or shady business tactics.
No, it was about him.
His lies. His cheating heart. His lies layered like poison on top of everything else. People I knew, people I didn't started talking. My phone started buzzing again and again. Friends I thought had left me were texting saying, "I'm sorry you had to go through that." Strangers online shared their own stories about people like him. It became a viral storm. Meanwhile, his family turned on him next. I wasn't close to them, but I heard through the grapevine. His parents were furious, not with me, but with him. They'd supported him all this time, but this betrayal? It was a crack big enough to break everything. His siblings stopped returning his calls. Even the ones who always smiled for the cameras at family events turned silent and cold. When he found out about that, I could imagine the look on his face. The angry pride fading. The realization that he was losing everything he thought was untouchable.
Socially, he was destroyed.
The parties he used to throw? Empty. Invitations stopped coming. Old friends turned their backs. His reputation was a joke. No one wanted to be near a man who ruined so many lives. And through it all, I stayed strong. I held my head high. I didn't cry anymore. I wasn't broken. I was ice. Cold as steel.
Calm.
Unshaken. I didn't reply to his calls. I ignored his texts. He begged me to meet, to talk, to forgive. But I just looked at my phone. Then I put it down. No words. No pity. He sent one last message. "Please. I'll fix this. Give me one chance." I smiled. Not because I wanted him back, but because he finally got it. I was done. I typed back 3 simple words.
No.
Never again. And then I walked away, free, stronger, and ready for whatever came next. He stood there, shaking. His face was pale. I could see the truth in his eyes. He had lost. Every lie, every secret, every little thing he did to hurt me came crashing down on him all at once. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done. I looked right at him and smiled coldly. "You thought you could break me, but it's you who's broken now." His voice cracked. "Please don't do this." I shook my head. "No more chances. You lost me forever." That was the last time I ever spoke to him. The last time I let him see me hurt. Because from that moment on, I only cared about me. A year later, I'm in a place I never thought I'd be. I'm working in a job I love. I'm laughing again. I'm building my own life. One that's mine and mine alone. The pain he put me through is just a memory now. A shadow I left behind. Not something that controls me. I remember the nights I cried, the days I felt like giving up. But I didn't. I fought back. Because I knew I deserved better. And I heard he lost everything. His friends, his job, his pride. No one trusts a liar and a cheat forever. That's the thing about people like him. They think they win by hurting others. But in the end, they lose everything that really matters.
Me?
I'm stronger now. Happier.
Free.
And that's the best revenge I could ever have. I don't hate him anymore. I don't waste energy on him. I just live my life on my own terms. And I'm winning. The room was packed. A lot of people I knew were there, friends, family, strangers. Everyone was dressed fancy. The kind of fancy that screams, "Tonight is special." Tonight was his big night. His wedding day. He stood in front of the crowd, smiling like nothing was wrong. Like he wasn't a liar. Like he wasn't the one who broke me. My heart hammered, but I kept my face calm. I told myself, hold it together. Then I stepped forward. The room got quiet. Eyes turned to me. I held up my phone. "I have something to show you all," I said. My voice was clear, loud enough for every ear. He laughed nervously, tried to grab the phone from me, but I pulled it back, steady. The screen lit up and the video played. There she was, his bride. And there was her, the woman he betrayed me with. They weren't just close. They were laughing, touching,
Kissing.
Gasps filled the room. I looked straight at him. "Is this the kind of man you want to marry?"
I said.
"A man who lies to everyone?" His face went red. His smile disappeared. People started whispering. Some shook their heads. A few stepped back like they wanted to escape the shame. Someone asked, "Is this true?" He opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. I didn't give him a chance. I was his fiancée. His best friend stood by, knowing this was happening. I turned to her. "You both lied. You both cheated." The crowd started to boo. Those boos got louder. His mother looked shocked. His friends looked disappointed. And me? I stood tall. No tears. No begging. Just truth. I said, "You don't get to smile today. You don't get to celebrate." He tried to protest. "You're ruining everything," he hissed. I shook my head. "No, you ruined everything the moment you betrayed trust." The bride's face burned with shame. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry." I smiled, cold and hard. "Sorry isn't enough." Someone shouted, "Tell us who really deserves to be the villain here." I raised my voice. "He's the villain." He thought he could hide in lies. But lies have a way of coming out. People nodded. They stopped looking at him like a hero. They saw the truth now. His big moment was crushed right in front of everyone. And not by me alone, by all the people he betrayed. I felt something shift inside me. That heavy weight of hurt started to lift. Because I won. Because he lost. Because now everyone knew who he really was. The best part? I was the only one who stood strong.
Calm.
In control. I walked away from that mess with my head high. And he? Left alone to face the truth. Justice never felt so good. They stood there, watching me like I was some bad dream come true. His parents. His family. Their faces were full of disappointment. Not the angry kind. The quiet, cold kind that hurts more than yelling. His mother looked at him with tears in her eyes. "How could you do this, Michael?" To her. To us? His father shook his head slowly. "We always trusted you. We thought you had a good heart." Michael didn't say a word. He just looked small. Like all his pride had disappeared. Then his sister stepped forward. She didn't even try to hide her disgust. "You lied to her. You used her. She didn't deserve any of this." I stood back and watched it all. I felt my chest tighten. It was like I was watching a show where he was losing everything right in front of me. And I wasn't even part of the family anymore. I was free. His mother turned to me, her voice soft but strong. "We're sorry, really sorry. We never saw this side of him. He didn't deserve you." I wanted to say something, but the tears stopped me. Not because I was sad anymore. Because I felt something else, victory. Michael looked around the room, desperate for support. But there was none. Everyone had turned their backs. No one spoke up for him. He was alone. I didn't have to say a word. The silence said it all. I walked toward them slowly, my head held high. I stared at Michael one last time. "You lost me," I said quietly. "And now you've lost them too." His face twisted in pain. I could see the regret, but it was too late. His family shook their heads, stepping away from him, as if he was poison. I felt my heart pound in my chest. I was done being the victim. Now they all saw what kind of person he really was. And I was the one winning. I turned around. As I walked away, I didn't look back. Because I knew he had nothing left. No family, no love, no chance. And that felt better than anything. He showed up at my door like a ghost from my worst nightmare. I wasn't ready for this. Not after everything he did. "Please," he said, voice shaking. "I've lost it all. Everything. Without you, I'm nothing." I looked at him. He looked broken. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered. I remembered the lies. The cheating. The pain he caused me. The way he used me and threw me away. "No," I said, my voice cold and clear. "You lost me when you decided to leave. Don't come back now." He dropped his head, begging with his eyes. "I'll do anything. Just give me one more chance." I took a step forward. "One more chance? You think I'm stupid? You think I'm weak?" He flinched.
Good.
"I'm done being your backup plan. I'm done with your lies. I'm done with you." He opened his mouth to say something else, but I cut him off. "You wasted everything. Your pride. your chance, your respect, and now you have nothing." He looked at me like he wanted to cry. I don't blame him. That's what happens when you lose everything by your own hands. I stood there, feeling strong. Not hurt, not sad.
Strong.
"Don't come back," I said again. "Because I won't be here." He turned and walked away. I watched him go. And for the first time in months, I felt free. I felt powerful. He begged. I said no. And now I win. 1 year later, everything was different. I was sitting in my new apartment, the sun shining through the big windows. I had a job I loved. I was making money on my own. No more waiting for anyone. No more lies. I looked at the photo on my desk. It was from my first big night at work. My team had pulled off a huge success. The kind of success I only dreamed about before. I smiled. This was my life now. Mine. I wasn't the broken girl anymore. I wasn't the one crying in the dark. I was strong. I was in control. Meanwhile, I heard news about him. The man who betrayed me. The one who said he loved me but stabbed me in the back. He was alone.
Lost. No job.
No friends. Just himself and the empty apartment he never bothered to fix. I heard he tried to call me once. I saw the missed calls. I didn't answer. Why would I? I didn't feel sorry for him. Not one bit. He was the one who ran away when things got tough. The one who lied and cheated. Now he was the one paying the price. Sometimes late at night I think about how far I've come. How he's stuck in the past and I'm moving forward. It feels good. I'm not just happy. I'm proud. Proud that I didn't break.
Proud that I fought back.
Proud that I won. Here I am, with my life together, my future bright, and him left with nothing but regret. And I don't feel sorry for him at all. Not anymore. Because now I am free. And that's the best revenge of all.